The most dangerous money mistakes men make after 50 rarely feel like mistakes. They feel reasonable, earned, mature, even responsible. That's what makes them expensive. By that age, most men aren't getting destroyed by obvious stupidity. They're not usually blowing the mortgage payment at a casino or day trading their retirement into oblivion because a teenager on the internet said a stock was about to explode. The real damage comes from something quieter. A set of money illusions that sound wise because they were built in an earlier phase of life, and then carried too far into a different one. That's the part nobody warns you about. After 50, money stops being just about income and discipline. It becomes about timing, energy, status, identity, and the systems around you that are no longer working in your favor the way they used to. The game changes, but a lot of men keep playing by rules that belong to 35. And that gap is where the losses happen. One of the biggest illusions is the belief that high income and financial security are basically the same thing. They are not. For most of a man's life, income feels like power. If something breaks, you earn more. If life gets expensive, you push harder. If you took a hit in your 40s, you could still tell yourself, I've got time. I can recover. I can outwork this. That logic has an expiration date. After 50, income is often strongest right before it becomes fragile. That's the trap. A man can be earning the most he has ever earned and still be standing on thinner ice than he realizes. Because the system underneath him has changed. Employers don't say it out loud, but experience stops being an asset the moment it becomes expensive. The same man who thinks he is finally being paid what he's worth may actually be entering the years when the market starts quietly asking whether he can be replaced by someone younger, cheaper, and more digitally fluent. So he relaxes because the paycheck is large, when that is exactly when he should be studying how dependent his entire life is on that paycheck. That's the illusion. Not low income. Dependency disguised as success. And men fall for it because earning has been their language of competence for decades. If they can still produce, they assume they are still protected. But protection is not what you earn this month. Protection is how long your life stays stable if the machine stops sending money. Another illusion is that the house is the safety net. This one runs deep because it sounds so solid. Paid down mortgage. Appreciated value. Big asset on paper. A symbol of discipline. A reward for decades of work. But paper wealth and usable security are not the same thing either. A house can make a man feel rich while keeping him financially rigid. High taxes. Maintenance. Insurance. Renovation. Utilities. Repairs that show up like insults. And if a lot of his wealth is trapped in that property, then he's not living in freedom. He's living inside a very expensive storage unit for his old assumptions. What makes this illusion powerful is emotional meaning. The house is never just the house. It's proof. It says, I built something. I provided. I made it. And because it carries identity, men defend it long after it stops making financial sense. So they stay in oversized homes with empty rooms, rising costs, and a life that now requires more flexibility, not less. They call it stability. Sometimes it's just inertia with landscaping. And the system loves this illusion because entire industries feed on it. Realtors, lenders, contractors, insurers, tax structures, local prestige, neighborhood signaling. All of it reinforces the same message. Bigger, longer, keep it, hold on, don't step down. But sometimes what looks like stepping down is actually stepping out of a trap. Then there's the illusion that retirement is mostly a math problem. It isn't. That's another lie told in respectable language. Men are taught to think retirement means hitting a number. One number. Get there, and the future opens. Miss it, and the future closes. So they obsess over balances, projections, and percentages. And yes, the math matters. Of course it does. But the hidden system is that retirement failure often comes less from bad spreadsheets than from bad self-understanding. A man retires from work without retiring from the emotional habits work was regulating. The need to feel useful. The need to feel relevant. The need for structure. The need for hierarchy. The need to believe he still has leverage in the world. If he hasn't built a life outside of being needed professionally, money starts leaking into the vacuum. Not because he's reckless. Because he's disoriented. He starts spending to recreate stimulation. To buy back momentum. To feel modern. To reward himself for surviving. A new truck he barely needs. A second property he doesn't want to maintain. A hobby turned into a gear addiction. Generosity that is really a way of staying central to the family. Quiet panic converted into purchases. On paper, he's buying objects. Underneath, he's trying to purchase a role. That's why some men with plenty of money still feel financially hunted. Because the threat isn't just depletion. It's meaninglessness. And money gets used to anesthetize that faster than most people realize. Another illusion is that being debt-free automatically means being safe. Better, yes. Safe, not necessarily. There are men after 50 with little or no debt who are still one medical event, one layoff, one adult child crisis, one divorce echo, one aging parent emergency away from serious damage. Because cash flow is only one layer. Liquidity is another. Insurance quality is another. Legal structure is another. Tax exposure is another. Relationship stability is another. This is the system reveal most people miss. Financial outcomes at this age are rarely produced by one giant event. They're produced by stacked vulnerabilities. A man says, I paid off the house. Good. I don't owe on the car. Good. I've got retirement accounts. Good. But can he access money without penalties when life gets weird? Does he know what long-term care can do to a family? Is his portfolio built for headlines or for his actual stomach? Has he protected himself from being the emergency fund for every person he loves? Does he understand what happens if he becomes less capable before he becomes poor? Those questions are less glamorous, which is why they get ignored. But glamour is not a financial category. Survivability is. And survivability becomes the whole game. There's also an illusion men almost never admit out loud, the belief that their children's struggles are temporary, and therefore financially manageable. This one breaks people slowly. A man reaches his 50s thinking the heavy lifting is almost done. Maybe the kids are grown. Maybe college is over. Maybe they've launched. Maybe the expensive years are behind him. Then real life happens. A daughter comes home after a breakup. A son has unstable work. Grandchildren appear. Housing costs explode. Someone needs help with rent, a down payment, a legal bill, a bad month, a car, a school situation, a move. And because he sees himself as protector, he doesn't evaluate these decisions as financial systems. He evaluates them as moments of love. That's why the illusion is so powerful. Helping once is kindness. Becoming the permanent shock absorber for everyone else's adulthood is a different thing. A lot of men in this phase are not financing emergencies. They are financing delayed independence. And they do it while telling themselves this is just a bridge. But the bridge keeps getting longer because the cultural and economic systems around younger adults are unstable, and the older man's savings become the easiest pressure release valve in the family. He isn't just spending money. He is absorbing structural failure from 2 generations at once. His parents may need care. His children may need support. And he is in the middle, translating love into withdrawals. Nobody warns him that middle age can become a financial corridor where money flows through him in both directions. And if he's not careful, he reaches old age respected by everyone and secure for no one, including himself. Then there's the illusion of lifestyle permanence. Men don't usually wake up one day and decide to live above their means. It happens more elegantly than that. Their peak earning years create a standard that feels normal. Certain restaurants, certain gifts, certain vacations, certain habits, certain forms of convenience, a certain way of arriving, a certain way of being seen. What's dangerous is not luxury itself. It's the invisible conversion of temporary earning power into permanent identity. Once a lifestyle becomes part of self-image, cutting back doesn't feel like strategy. It feels like humiliation. So men protect appearances long after the economics have changed. They keep paying for the version of themselves that made sense when the machine was still fully running. They don't want their spouse to feel the drop. They don't want friends to notice. They don't want to experience the private shame of realizing that some of what looked like success was actually least confidence. And that is exactly how money disappears late in life. Not in dramatic bursts. In identity maintenance. The system is brutal because it recruits ego to defeat arithmetic. And if there's one illusion that sits beneath almost all the others, it's this: the belief that experience automatically leads to better money decisions. It doesn't. Experience often just creates smoother justifications. A younger man makes a mistake and calls it a mistake. An older man makes a mistake and calls it nuance. He has stories. He has context. He has reasons. He has been around. He can explain why this investment is different, why this expense is deserved, why this business idea still has upside, why this friend can be trusted, why this market dip is nothing, why this relationship won't cost him, why this time he sees what others don't. Age can produce wisdom. It can also produce narrative armor. And narrative armor is dangerous because it makes correction feel insulting. Men who have spent decades being competent in one domain often struggle to admit they are amateurs in another. A man can run a company and still be naive about taxes. He can manage teams and still be impulsive with risk. He can command a room and still be financially manipulated by loneliness, pride, guilt, or fear of irrelevance. The market doesn't care how respected he was. The tax code doesn't care how hard he worked. A predatory deal doesn't care how smart he sounds. That's another silent system no one likes to say clearly. After 50, financial danger becomes more psychological than mathematical. Because by then, the money is usually not just money. It is masculine identities stored in numbers. It represents whether he won, whether he provided, whether he can still protect, whether he still matters, whether all those years meant something. And once money becomes proof of self, men stop relating to it rationally. They defend it, display it, hide behind it, donate it for approval, risk it for resurrection, or refuse to use it because spending feels like dying. That last one is rarely discussed. Some men don't lose because they spend too much. They lose because they become servants to preservation. They sit on money they're too afraid to use wisely because every dollar spent feels like a verdict. So life gets narrower. Joy becomes delayed. Health gets neglected. Experiences get postponed. Help isn't hired. Time is traded for false control. They die with intact accounts and an underlived life. That's an illusion too. Security without permission to live is just a different form of poverty. So what actually changes after 50? The real asset is no longer raw earning power. It's optionality. The real flex is not looking rich. It's being hard to corner. The real win is not dying with the biggest pile. It's not becoming financially obedient to fear, vanity, family pressure, or outdated ideas of manhood. That means a smaller life on purpose may be richer than a larger life by momentum. It means cash that can move may matter more than equity that flatters. It means relationships with boundaries are worth more than generosity that breeds dependence. It means health is not a side issue in finance. It is a central line item. It means your ability to downshift without shame is a form of wealth. It means the smartest thing a man can do is stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "What system does this decision lock me into?" Because that is the deeper question. Every financial choice after 50 is not just a purchase. It's an architecture decision. It either increases freedom or reduces it. It either lowers future pressure or quietly installs more of it. It either respects the reality of aging, or it pretends life will keep giving you the same margins forever. It won't. That's not pessimism. That's clarity. And clarity is expensive when you get it late. The men who do this well are not always the richest. They're the ones who see through the performance. They notice when a house becomes a burden wearing a nice address. They notice when helping becomes subsidizing. They notice when luxury becomes camouflage. They notice when the paycheck stops being proof and starts being exposure. They notice when their own ego is trying to negotiate against reality. Most of all, they understand that the biggest money illusion after 50 is the belief that the old rules still apply because you survived this far. Survival is not the same as design. And the second half of life punishes men who confuse the two. So if something in your life looks impressive but makes you less flexible, look harder. If something makes you feel important but increases your dependency, look harder. If something flatters your past but weakens your future, look harder. Because by this stage, the costliest lies are not the ones other people tell you. They're the ones that fit your life so well, you never think to question them. And that's how men lose fortunes without ever feeling foolish. They just keep calling the trap security until the door closes.